Africa. Tell your neighbor, Africa.
What if I told you someone saw all this coming way before anyone else? Picture this. Thousands of miles from Burkina Faso, inside a packed church in Lagos, Nigeria, a man stood preaching, a man named TB Joshua. And in that moment, he looked into the future and spoke about a leader. Not just any leader, a young soldier, a disruptor, someone ready to shake up the old world and rise with the fire of the people behind him. This was years before Ibrahim Traoré even made headlines. Long before the streets of Ouagadougou echoed with chants for freedom and resistance, before French troops were told to leave, Prophet TB Joshua may have already seen it coming. But like many of his mysterious predictions, the world just wasn't ready to listen. Back in the early 2010s, when Traoré's name meant almost nothing outside Burkina Faso's military circles, TB Joshua gave a haunting message to his congregation. He never named names. That wasn't his style. But his words were clear enough to make you stop and think today. He talked about a young man in uniform, not elected, but thrown into leadership during chaos. A man who would challenge foreign control in Africa and spark a fire in the youth like never before. At the time, most people brushed it off as just another vague prophecy. But listen to those words now. With everything unfolding in Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger, and beyond. And it sounds less like a prediction and more like a warning. Now, fast forward to October 2022. Out of nowhere, a little-known military captain named Ibrahim Traoré led a coup and toppled Paul-Henri Damiba, who had only been in power for a few months. At just 34 years old, Traoré became the youngest head of state in the world. No fancy political background, no suit and tie, just military fatigues, a serious voice, and a message that hit home across Africa. Africa must be free. He called out the old leaders for serving foreign interests. He pointed directly at France, the former colonial power, and declared enough was enough. Burkina Faso would no longer be a puppet. True sovereignty meant real independence, not just politically, but economically, militarily, and spiritually. It was a bold move, especially coming from a country still fighting terrorism and struggling economically. But the people stood with him, not just in Burkina Faso, but across Africa. Young people from Mali, Guinea, Senegal, and even the Democratic Republic of Congo started chanting his name, sharing his speeches, calling him the modern Thomas Sankara. Here's where it gets really interesting. Years earlier, TB Joshua's prophecy described a leader who won't speak like politicians but like a fighter, misunderstood by many but defended fiercely by the people. Sound familiar? That's exactly what happened with Traoré. From day one, international media tried to label him a dictator, a radical, a threat. But his people? They see him as a liberator, a voice for the voiceless. Even more chilling is another quote from TB Joshua. They won't control him. He'll resist every attempt to silence him. He won't bow to foreign pressure. He's not a man of war, but war trained him. Think about that. War trained. Traoré didn't grow up in politics. He rose through the military during one of Burkina Faso's darkest times, when extremist groups were terrorizing villages and the government was losing credibility fast. He witnessed diplomacy fail firsthand, and when the government seemed powerless, he stepped in. Now, to be clear, TB Joshua never said Ibrahim Traoré outright. If you've followed the prophet before, you know he rarely drops names. Instead, he describes moments that seem confusing at first but make sense with time. So here's the big question. Was TB Joshua's prophecy really about Traoré? Or is Traoré just one piece of a much larger spiritual shift the prophet saw coming? It's no secret that Prophet TB Joshua cared deeply about Africa's future, not just politically, but spiritually. he often warned that the real battle ahead wouldn't be fought with guns alone, but with influence, power, and control behind the scenes. He spoke of economic sabotage, foreign-backed unrest, and a new generation of leaders rising, not from politics, but from pain and injustice. Sound familiar? Because that's exactly who Traoré is. He doesn't present himself as a hero, but as a product of a broken system. He's not cruising in luxury cars or hiding behind tight security. Instead, you'll find him walking among the people in crowded markets, shaking hands, hearing their stories. And that terrifies the old guard. The last time Africa had a leader like that, his name was Thomas Sankara. And they made sure he didn't last long. So if TB Joshua really saw this coming, what else did he warn us about? In those same sermons, he predicted a fierce battle ahead for this young leader. He said, "They will try to isolate him. They'll offer deals to corrupt him. And when that fails, they will try to remove him. But his survival will depend on the prayers of his people." That line hits different today, right? Since Traoré took power, Burkina Faso cut ties with France, grew closer to Russia, and became the face of the anti-colonial wave sweeping West Africa. But that also means he's made powerful enemies. There have been whispers of foreign-backed plots, assassination attempts, and secret operations. Every time, the people stand strong. They surround his home, march with his image, pray for him. This brings us back to TB Joshua's final message. He believed Africa's future wouldn't be decided in government offices or boardrooms, but in the spiritual realm. That the leaders rising from prayer, not politics, would shape the continent's destiny. He said, "Watch the nations the world ignores. From there, fire will rise." Burkina Faso was never on anyone's radar as a major player, but now, it's setting the pace. Traoré isn't just leading a country, he's sparking a movement. Like him or not, you can't deny the powerful spiritual energy surrounding him. And for those who believe in prophecy, the signs are impossible to ignore. So, was TB Joshua pointing right at this moment? Did he see Ibrahim Traoré's rise through prayer and revelation? And if so, what do we do with that knowledge? Because if this prophecy is real, if Traoré is the man TB Joshua warned about, then one thing's clear. The battle is far from over. In fact, it's just getting started. The forces that have controlled African politics for decades,